Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the monthly webinar for local governments and municipal authorities constituency, hosted by ICLE, Local Governments for Sustainability, in its capacity as the focal point of this process, also in my capacity as conducting this task. My name is Yunus Arikan. I'm the Director of Global Advocacy at ICLE. Thank you for joining us for today's session. We have around 1 hour of a planned session for today. For those who have joined us before, you may recall the format. We usually start with a basic presentation, then we have our guests and Q&A session. We will follow a similar format. For this session, we have invited also colleagues who have been joining us in the COP26 in Glasgow, in person or virtually. So depending on their participation, I hope we will have an interactive discussion with those who have been contributing to this session, but we will be more than happy for those who have been not being with us or who have not been in Glasgow but interested. We're eager to hear your comments as well. For those who joined for the first time, just for a recap, this is recorded and this is available later on. You would be able to type in your questions in the QA box or chat box. During the discussion, you can also unmute yourself and open your videos as well. I thank you very much for your interest. Once again, I will start without further ado because the discussions we will have is pretty loaded. So let's start to discuss or go on to the business immediately. Just a recap, the video you have just seen is a compilation of a 90 seconds of an archive from Paris Agreement 5th anniversary in 2011. You can find this and other compilation videos in the YouTube channel of LGMA. You can also find a lot of information about homepage and recordings of our previous webinars. As we said, since January 2021, this is our 22nd webinar, and actually we will conclude this with another final webinar in December, on the 15th of December. So this will be our wrap-up of COP26 processes and engagement. So we have already uploaded many information to our website on the COP26 landing page of the LGMA. So many of the information you will find here, or you will hear here, they are also available there, and we will keep continuously updating this website as well. So we encourage you to share your information with us as much as possible. especially those who are in the membership of LGMA. Just once again, why Paris Agreement is important. We have discussed this before. It is a new era. It recognizes our engagement, but also 1.5 degrees and climate neutrality. It is primarily delivered at the national level. Therefore, success any of the events at COPs depends on success at home. Particularly in this Glasgow, this was the case that NDCs, how ambitious the NDCs will be the most important thing. We have a role in the NDCs because we are we're a partner of the Paris Agreement. We're an actor of the Paris Agreement, and this new phase, especially 1.5, is at a process that has to engage with all actors and stakeholders. That is much different than the previous Kyoto Protocol on UNFCCC. I just wanted to start with a brief overview of putting the concluding slide to the beginning so that you can also have a discussion. It is not a perfect, specifically a perspective of the LGMA, but an overview or let's say how we interpret the outcomes, at least from ICLE point of view. First of all, the outcome we'll discuss in more detail, the Glasgow Climate Pact, and of course, there are many other decisions that are adopted, but Glasgow Climate Pact is the most important one. It does not address an emergency mode commitment. It was the expectation because the climate crisis was hitting all around the world, not just developing countries, not just small islands. So there was a huge expectation that this will be an emergency COP. However, at the end, this is a diplomatic process. It's a negotiation, and the outcome did not reflect this emergency mode in its text. What did do, however, is that it ensured the Paris Agreement is alive, or at least, even though this doesn't secure the 1.5 degree alive, it makes the Paris Agreement alive. It makes the second phase of the Paris officially kicking off, because now we have the full rule book. And it is an incremental process, but it is an important incremental process, because without those baby steps, it's not so easy to get major leapfrogging. And therefore, this is something that we all welcome. We are particularly excited that the preamble refers to multi-level. So our expectation to have the multi-level action as the new normal hopefully will be a reality. But these are all documents that are on the table. The real action is the important thing. Therefore, we have to continue to work, and we will discuss about this more. Before the COP, or at least say during the COP, especially with the World Summit, Leaders Summit, and the rest of the days, there were numerous announcements. It was diverse. It's really hard to keep track. Luckily, COP26 presidency finally shared a link where they captured all these announcements. Some of them are really very important, encouraging. Methane, deforestation, fossil fuel phase out. There are important also outcomes with the improvement of Marrakesh Partnership. There are new initiatives between US, China, and US, Japan, especially. We will also discuss that. So these are all good. But these are all good as long as they are reflected into the NDCs, so that it is not just a statement announced at the COP itself, but hopefully this will be reflected to the NDCs, so that the NDCs will be much ambitious. And that's the good news, that the climate pact of the Glasgow is now inviting or encouraging or requesting every party to bring a new NDC every year, at least starting from next year. So this is fantastic opportunity, because this gives us back the power to go back to our countries and the capitals to ask them, okay, you have made so many commitments, you have signed up to so many initiatives, you also have heard now multi-level is the Glasgow Climate Pact, so we would like you to bring a new NDC. If you already work with us, make it better. If you already work with us, make sure that our information is much more available to you, or you connect to us. And also, all these commitments, reflect them to the NDCs. So that is an opportunity for us to handle in the next couple of months. And of course, this was never a goal. Never any COP will finish every business of climate action or emergency. And the next few COPs will be important, because they will be in the global south, especially the one in Africa, hosted by Egypt in 2022, and Sharm el-Sheikh will be really the space where the global south will step up and show their leadership. And we have seen in the case of the UK, every presidency has a unique role. They have the capacity to define, shape the outcomes. And in the UK case, we have seen it to the best of its possibility. I mean, they really have delivered a huge leadership in terms of promoting their priorities, but bringing others on board. So Africa would do the same, obviously, that's their right. And of course, Africa left with a huge frustration because loss and damage was not addressed, because the coal phase out was not concrete. So there are huge expectations with the Egyptian presidency. The topics that were ignored will come onto the table. And obviously, just like you have seen how a presidency text may shape the future outcome, their expectation is that especially the topics like resilience, adaptation, food, nature, finance, mitigation, culture, loss and damage will all be visible into the efforts of the presidency of the Egyptian and also the African COP. There is also a huge expectation because Africa as a union, as a group, have always been supporting the urbanization or sustainable urban development. We could expect a much more visible presence. So that is in a nutshell about the lessons learned from COP26 and our roadmap for COP27. Obviously, this webinar will now go into details of it, but I wanted you to have a discussion or at least have a vision on that as an overview. I see a lot of colleagues who were actually present in Glasgow. If you want, we can continue, but if there's anything you want to address now, this could also be an opportunity for you to intervene. So don't wait until the end if you want, but if you wish, we can continue so that we complete, because there are some details that may shape the discussions. So far, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any QA chat box, so I prefer that we continue. And I accept silence as acceptance of this proposal. So we have used the slides in the LGMA briefings in Glasgow. We had it let's say most of the days, and it was all webcasted. For those who are part of this process, it's not the need to go through it once again, but LGMA, in fact, is a process that goes back to 1992 and 95. And this outcome that we have achieved is the result of all our building on our achievements in the past. And then, of course, the way we have engaged will also give us the power that we can engage much better. I must confess, one of the best outcomes of COP26 is that it gave us, the LGMA, the spirit and the feeling of the family or a constituency. Especially the last 3 days, I was impressed with all the mobilization from in-person and virtually. Everybody was trying to reach to their national governments and their partners. I think even it was a bit, let's say, not the best way of using our energy, because if the text was already there, we could have worked for other topics. But it is also true that if there were, I mean, the lack of no recognition in the first draft of the presidency gave the opportunity for LGMA to remember what it means to go for an advocacy in the climate space. And I think people were very happy that it was giving us the power and the capacity, so that it is in fact one of the outcome of COP26 Glasgow roadmap of LGMA, that we have to be much more professional now. We have to be much more active, because now the implementation is fully also on our shoulders, and this advocacy space is getting more and more, let's say, complex, not confusing, let's say complex, but at the same time exciting, because there are more and more new agendas coming up, new actors coming up. Therefore, we are hoping that this will be a good way forward. So we are in a hybrid world, especially in the UN space. That may be one of the biggest, for example, the weakness of the COP26 presidency. For so many months, they insisted that this will be only in-person COP, and the virtual elements were only introduced in the last 3 weeks before COP. And of course, the system was not working. So if it was planned in advance, like in June or so, that there will be in-person plus virtual elements, our life would be much less miserable. For those who were in Glasgow the first couple of days especially, it was really tough, and the technical glitches continued throughout the whole thing. So virtuality is not damaging or hosting or holding the in-person meetings. In fact, it is just supporting, and the future COPs should also be prepared for that. And it's a fact. It's nothing to be going back after COVID is over. We are not making the virtual elements just because COVID, because it helps. It offers more opportunities. We have seen it in before COP, and it was visible in COP as well. So we have engaged for so many processes, the UNFCCC, the COP presidency, champions, and LGMA initiatives. I am emphasizing this particularly because this will be the life after COP26 as well. So we will continue to work on these 4 building blocks. And let's not forget that this UNFCCC space is now really, there are regular processes in the bodies that we're engaged, ACE or Nairobi or capacity building. There are things that presidencies will lead, and we have to be very active. And there are processes that champions and Marrakesh Partnership will lead, and we will be leading our own processes. So none of them are either or. We have to have space in all of those processes. And depending on the presidency, depending on the nature of the COP, our membership, the LGMA leadership, could also change different roles. We have seen it in Glasgow. Some of our partners were more active in some spaces and the others were different places. But the important thing is that we collectively make sure we are coordinated and we are connected to each other so that we support each other's outcomes. Before COP, we had a very clear call, time for multi-level action. And we were saying that this, in fact, has started. We do not know by the time what COP would end up with, but that's why the reason we had our World Cities Day, the first day of the COP, our press conference, and we released our time for multi-level action roadmap. And that was the logic that if between Paris Agreement and now, if there were any single increase in any of those countries, it was because they were with their local and regional governments, and it was the case from north to south, from east to west, and that played a huge role in our communications and in our messaging, saying that if you want to raise ambition, you have to work with us. And if you want us to deliver our commitments, you again have to work with us so that you give us the necessary resources and capacities. I think the message was really clear, and we are very happy that this approach have proved paved our way forward. And of course, now we have to work with even more aggressively, more actively with all these countries and all these others who are not listed there, so that we continue to make those NDCs working, delivering much more ambitiously than before, and the local and subnationals, their commitments to be much more aggressive. Obviously, at COP26, we always said that it will be in 5, let's say, cornerstones, and even in each of it, there will be numerous, let's say, smaller work stream. We had the blue zone and the green zone as the biggest differentiation. Inside the blue zone, we have pavilion, other pavilions, and UNFCCC processes. Outside, we had COP26 Green Zone and Glasgow, Edinburgh, the whole Scotland. As far as we could track, we have around more than 400 delegations or representatives of local and regional governments already accredited to the UNFCCC, which means they have the blue zone accreditation. And across those 5 spaces, we have more than 200 events hosted or led by local and regional government. This is an enormous number. This delegation size, if you map this, you consider this as one nation, this is number 2. The highest number was Brazil. We were just numbers 2. So this shows how local and regional governments are important. Many of them were in their national delegations, but many of them were registered through LGMA members. I think that was a powerful message as well. Of course, our home throughout these 2 weeks in the blue zone was the multi-level action pavilion. We want to once again express our gratitude to Scottish government, who was the host of this process. We were proud to convene, but we have so many co-hosts, contributing partners and session partners. Obviously, without Scottish government providing a very solid backing to this process, including politically, technically, and financially, this wouldn't have been possible. But without the embracing of the whole LGMA community again, this space wouldn't be possible so actively, so lively. The quality of discussions, the number of diversity of sessions were impressive. We were really impressed as ICLE. We did not host many of those events, but as far as we can see, it was really very powerful, and we are very, very proud of our outcomes. This is just every day there was a coverage from the ENB Earth Negotiation Bulletin, but all the sessions are in the YouTube channel, and we will be soon coming up with our report as well. But we're very happy with the outcomes, and we commend and congratulate all our partners who contributed into this process. Let's put it, there was a couple of discussions before whether the outcome of Glasgow Climate Pact was meaningful or not. I put this chart just to show the pathway or the track of how we have evolved. I mean, look at the UNFCCC and Kyoto Protocol. These were the 20th century, let's say, climate regime frameworks, and there were no recognition to any of us, and by any means, not even just to cities and regions, but none of the stakeholders were even addressed there. 2015 was remarkable. We had the preamble paragraph. It only recognized, and there were some references to cities and other subnationals or non-party stakeholders. And since Paris, we have also seen that it's not just the Paris summit, it was also the preparatory decisions in the past between Copenhagen and Paris, which was in Cancun and Warsaw. The COP decisions played a huge role. So what happens now? We have a Glasgow Climate Pact. Obviously, the biggest difference is that there are 3 different documents, and they're all called as the Glasgow Climate Pact, but they're all designed uniquely according to each of the agendas they have. But we have a preamble which highlights this time the urgent need for multi-level. The word multi-level now is in the Paris Agreement, and it's Glasgow Climate Pact. So that is an important point. I would like to repeat once again. I mentioned this in a couple of presentations and discussions. Let me give you the example. The emissions trading mechanism, the clean development mechanism, all these emission trading markets and bourses. In 97 Kyoto Protocol, this was just one sentence. And after that, the negotiators worked so much, and they developed a huge new world. So having one word, multi-level, and it's the urgent need for a multi-level action, cooperative action, in the preamble is extremely valuable, and we will use this like it's our window, and through this window we will squeeze in to a new world. It will open a new space for us, and it will be a very, very exciting and very, very, of course, demanding, but it is exactly what we have been asking for. So I recommend all of our partners that don't underestimate the value of this word, and those who are following negotiations, you know how long days and hours are taking place for negotiators to add or remove one word from those texts. So one word, even one comma, is important in all these diplomatic documents, and it's up to us to make it building a new future. So be aware, this is not less meaningful. It is extremely valuable. It's opening a new era for us. We have even more references compared to Paris Agreement in the Glasgow Climate Pact in terms of local and regional governments and other constituencies, Marrakesh Partnership, where we are all partnered with. Youth participation, it is extremely available, especially the climate emergency declarations and climate emergency process at the council level is very, very actively developed with the youth, and other references. So if you look at that, we have seen a sea change, a leapfrogging in our engagement in the Glasgow Climate Pact compared to Paris Agreement and compared to UNFCCC. So this is something, a success that we have to all celebrate and take the responsibility that now it's time to implement. Throughout these 2 weeks in the blue zone, we are particularly focusing on blue zone. There were numerous meetings. Obviously, it's very hard to track every engagement, but as a UNFCCC official process, we have several mandates and several opportunities, and we have to use this very effectively. I must confess, we at the end, as in my capacity as the focal point, I'm very happy with the final list of this appearance. It is also good in terms of diversity. For example, we started with our press conference at the beginning. That set the stone, set the scene. Then we started our opening with a Latin American mayor, which is good because it was a Chilean presidency, Latin American presidency. Then we continued again from Latin America in the open dialogue. At the mayors, at the World Leaders Summit, we had a mayor, Mayor Garcetti. Then we had intense interventions during the COP, which was primarily led by UK partners and European partners, because this COP was in UK and Europe. And then our closing statement was delivered by our colleague partner from Rwanda, and the African partner, which is also a bridge to the next COP. So I think that was a nice diversity. We had numerous interactions with UNFCCC Executive Secretary, the Presidency, the UN Secretary General, and even to UK Prime Minister, which has happened for the first time in a COP that the heads of state had met with constituencies. I think this diversity and strength of our interventions is one of the reasons why we are so powerful in the whole process from now on, or at least that we showed both the host country actors and the other actors have unified in their voices. I think that was a powerful message. Obviously, there were numerous side events. As I said, it's very hard to track that. We are keeping this information available. Some of them, especially the ones at the UNFCCC website, we are tracking so that the webcasts are easy to find at least. But feel free to share with us your links so that we can also include them in our documents as well. A very important agenda. The last couple of minutes, we are coming at like 5 or 10 minutes left for my presentation of this round. By the way, we have a message in the chat box. Oh, hi Jennifer from WWF. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. I will be eager to hear your views. So thanks for the supporting message at this webinar as well. So let's continue. So Marrakesh Partnership, of course, it has been a journey since Marrakesh, as you all know. In Paris, it was just named. It was Lima Paris Action Agenda. It evolved into Marrakesh Partnership. Every presidency defined champions. Every champion tried to introduce a new element. The working groups were trying to find their ways in the pathways. There were this process of Nazca, which started before Marrakesh Partnership even. It was 2014 Lima. And then the last 2 years, we have seen an unbelievable support and leadership from especially a very synergetic work between Nigel Topping and Gonzalo Munoz. Of course, let's address Nigel, who is a person who is within the family of climate freaks, let's say. He knows all the details, all the weaknesses and all the potentials. So he really put his brain and heart, and he was supported by a huge network of private and network and public experts. There was an army of pro bono consultants from all sorts of networks. They have done their best. Some of them were literally voluntary, some of them are really paid, and there was of course a huge machinery behind that. It introduced a huge momentum, and at the end, and they had received inputs, they have consultations, they have asked for feedbacks, and they have delivered a plan for the next year. Obviously, they have delivered a huge progress in the last 18 months from Madrid to Glasgow, but they also have introduced a new vision. And of course, this is valuable because we were all saying that from COP26, a second phase of Paris Agreement, which is fully in line with the provisions of the Paris Agreement, will start. And Marrakesh Partnership, based on the experience, the mistakes, the failures and success, has to also come up with a new scope. And that chart, I mean, it has now a 20-page document. This chart and the next one shows the basic highlights. We believe this is a good way of consolidating all the numerous different tracks, the pathways, races, and the Nazcas. Now they're all consolidated. They're all now under one umbrella. And it introduced new mechanisms, new opportunities. Obviously, the biggest issues from now on will be the governance of this process, the role of the upcoming presidencies, because for example, we still don't know who will be the Egyptian high-level champion, who will be counterparting with Nigel, and how will they relate with their presidency's work. This is the biggest, let's say, weakest link, but also the strongest link of the Marrakesh partnership. When you work with presidencies, it's a give and take. The governance, the new actors who joined, the experts, consultants, how will they continue? And the business model, how will we secure the resources to champions, to the UNFCCC secretariat, and relation with the rest of the stakeholder engagement in the process? How will they synchronize? How will they make sure they are functioning effectively, not overarching each other, but complementing each other? And of course, also the actors who are in this process, because this is all a voluntary work. Any resource management should also encourage capacity in the actors really delivering those races to zeros, those pathways. So these are all now onto the page. And one really good thing is that it is officially now recognized as a process, as one of the process for the global stocktake. That is something that we have always been asking Marrakesh Partnership to be much more integrated to the NDCs and all these processes. So they have delivered in that sense, in the sense we as ICLE have been part of the process. So when we say they, I should also include we, but of course it is the leadership of the champions. We are partnering of that. And in the links, you can see also the first link is the official document, but the second link is a huge list of non-party stakeholders who have endorsed this plan, including many members of the LGMA. So congratulations on this process. Let's focus on, once again, the outcomes. I would like to focus that it's not just Glasgow climate package, but there are also other elements. So this is a mapping of all these achievements. We have discussed about Glasgow climate pact. Don't forget, in fact, there are 3 documents called Glasgow climate pact, one under UNFCCC, one under the Kyoto Protocol, and one under the Paris Agreement. And the homepage of LGMA, you can find each of them with different links. Some of them are I mean, each of these 3 documents are different in size. One of them is 1 page, the other one is 97 paragraph, and the other one is 77 paragraph. But many paragraphs are similar as well. On the non-market mechanism, we were expecting something more. Obviously, it was not easy because the non-market approaches, negotiations already have started a long time before, and we were not very active there. Let's be realistic. But even under these limitations, I think reference to public institutions, the opportunity to submit now views so that we can shape it, and the opportunity that national, local context, local and subnational context is clearly referred into the design is something very powerful. And once again, our goal is to make sure at the end, integrated, holistic, sustainable, urban and territorial development is one of the non-market approaches. We have to work more and more in this process with our national government partners, but also our partners, so that we make this a reality. The moment the negotiators understand the value of this, I'm sure they will embrace this, but we have to develop much more evidence base for that. Action for climate empowerment. I have always been a fan of this agenda item. This is Article 6 of the UNFCCC. It is in fact a very crucial element. This is one of the soft, let's say, tools of the UNFCCC and Paris Agreement. It is education, training, public awareness, participation, access to information, and international cooperation. In my capacity, in my life before ICLE, I was the national focal point for Article 6, which is the new name, Action for Climate Environment, in Turkey. And I know how a better use of this Article 6 can really enhance and trigger action at the national level. So this new climate Glasgow work program is a huge opportunity. And the good news is that the number of references to local engineers are unprecedented. And it opens doors for many of the work that we have not been even thinking of. One example, it even enables you to communicate all your climate documents in the local languages. I mean, we are always suffering about the 6 UN languages, but there are so many other languages. And the Article 6 is encouraging parties to make use of the local languages, so that this is even additional contribution to reaching out to citizens at all levels. So an action for climate empowerment is a very, very effective tool that LGMA could now support and engage. So we have been actively involved in this process as ICLE, especially with our partnership with the Austrian government, with an ACE community, ACE AT project. But now more to be done, because this is a vast opportunity. Numerous LGMA-led or LGMA-relevant initiatives were announced. I would like to address particularly the US-Japan subnational partnership, the Edinburgh process, a Glasgow Food and Climate Declaration, which will come to that later on, and the Scottish and Wallonia region contributions to loss and damage. If you look at it, I will not count on it, but all the 4 elements of our roadmap has delivered a concrete progress. Therefore, I'm very happy that our work has been reaching to its result. So this is our last slide, actually, the one before the last. So what to do from now until the next year? So in the regular UNFCCC business, let's remember there will be a mid-year talk. We don't know what format it will be happening in Bonn. Regional climates is happening, and year-round engagement. That brings us once again. If you look at our roadmap, we propose or we commit that we will have LGMA regional chapters for Africa, for Latin America, for Europe, and we will have LGMA thematic chapters. So let's start to build on it. Let's start to define who will do what, so that we will follow this very cooperatively. COP26 presidency, they're already starting to follow up. That's good. COP26 presidency, a huge black box. Nobody knows now, at least I haven't met with any of them. But the important thing is that they have already listed a number of events. For example, Mayor of Izmir, ICLE's climate action champion, and also a member of the UN Food System Summit Champions Network. He joined a webinar immediately after COP, with also participated by the Minister of Environment of Egypt, who is expected to be the president of the COP. And she made it very clear that food will be an anchor, a cornerstone. This will also go to resilience and adaptation, nature and biodiversity, finance, loss and damage, culture, migration, and hopefully urbanization. So this agenda is really backing up all the things, all the points that was unfortunately ignored by the global north to a huge extent. They did not deliver their finance, they did not deliver their commitments. So global south will push this. So LGMA, having membership both in the north and south, can be the bridge to build trust and mechanisms among those processes. And these are the topics that we are very, very strong on. So let's be expecting that in the Egyptian leadership, we should be much more actively involved and much more actively engaged. Marrakesh partnership, we will face the new phase, the new mechanism, and we have especially the commitments and the races, the breakdowns. Now it's time to see them into the NDCs as well, and the new champion we have to wait and see. For LGMA, the questions that we have to discuss from now on, from today onwards, and as we had said before, the upcoming webinar next month on the 15th of December will particularly focus on all these discussions. Shall we create an LGMA COP27 working group, just like we did for COP26? And who should be part of it? Obviously, the regional relations are extremely important. The regional networks are extremely important. So we expect them to stepping up more actively there. Multi-level action pavilion at COP27 Blue Zone. Do we want to have it? If yes, we have to start to work from now on. Let's remember and let's not forget, Egypt is not UK, and Sharm el-Sheikh is not Glasgow nor Scotland. So the financial resources will be extremely limited and challenging. So we have to put our brains and minds together, and also the pockets together, so that we resource an LGMA pavilion. We believe there was a value that everybody has addressed. So now we have to make sure that this is continuing. As we said, we will not have a Scottish, let's say, ownership or Scottish leadership, but they will continue to help probably. But we have to increase more in the resourcing of this process. Next year, there will be numerous synergies. You may have noticed, UN Secretary General also addressed that this is good, COP27 is good, but it is not emergency mode. We would like to work with UN Secretary General. That was the outcome of our meeting with him on the 10th of November. On the 11th of November, but it's not just UN Secretary General. There is Quito +6 World Urban Forum in Katowice, and the 3 Rio conventions are happening at the same time. The LGMA legacies, Glasgow Food Declaration, Edinburgh Biodiversity Process, subnational leadership. None of them were finding their ways in the official COP26 outcome. So now it's time to bring them into the process. We have to go back to NDCs. Which ones we will push, how much of them we will ask them to be doing more. We have to defend our public stakeholder coalition now. We have seen a very good collaboration with Globe International, the legislators network. The executive and legislative bodies now getting much more closer. How about the other networks, which is the judicial bodies? So maybe we can think about a public stakeholders coalition for multi-level action. This is exactly national level implementation. And let's not forget, G20 will continue with Urban 20. G7 will continue this time, hopefully with a new Urban 7. This was kicked off in the UK, but German presidency and German stakeholders are very committed to that. So let's not forget they will also come into the game, and we have to make use of them. We have seen how they could be influencing into the final outcome. And the last slide, starting from February, we will be running into this marathon. We will have the Stockholm +50 in March. The Middle East region will have their regional climate week. It is important to connect to Egypt. US, Japan will have their partnership forum as of continuity of last year. In April, we will have a discussion in New York on Habitat 3, but also biodiversity. Kunming Summit will come up. In May, we will have desertification in Abidjan. It's the second COP in Africa in the same year. ICLE Malmö World Congress will also play a role. In June, we will have the June sessions, and also at the same time, end of June is the Katowice World Urban Forum, high-level political forum with interaction with UN Secretary General. Of course, August, September will be the regional climate weeks. In October, we will again make use of the Urban October. Daring cities will come up, UCLG World Congress. In November, obviously, we will be in Egypt, hopefully, or those who will be in Egypt will make sure that our voices are heard. And throughout this process, the dates are not clear yet, but we will also follow the G20 and G7 process as well. With this, in this presentation, you also find the relevant links. So when you receive this file, you will also find all of them. And don't forget, in the homepage of the roadmap, we will also find all the links. So I was a bit more than I planned. I'm so sorry for this lengthy speech and continuity of my interventions. But now I'd like to give the floor. We have 2 question and answer inputs from Masha from Eurocities and Carl Wright from Canterbury and former CLGF. I am reading them, but you are also able to intervene personally, and you can share your comments as well. So let's read the first input from Masha from Eurocities. Impressive LGMA engagement indeed. Thank you, Yunus. With a view to COP27, it will be great to hear your reflections on the most effective ways to mobilize ahead, including on the important discussions pertaining to urban dimensions of loss and damage, North-South partnerships. Definitely, yes, that is the goal. Don't forget, today, European Committee of the Regions Environment Committee is meeting, so we will be there. In the afternoon, we will have another one. There will be sessions in December for LGMA, but we know Geneva Cities Up will also host another one. Next week, we will also have a meeting of the Malmö World Congress. So let's use this couple of weeks to bring all together our ideas. We have laid out the first, let's say, sketches. We will turn this into a shared file as well, so that we can all share it and enrich it. Carl Wright, compliments to Yunus and ICLE LGMA on the fantastic job done. Paragraph 57, Glasgow Pact refers to regional climate weeks, and these can also be held by local and regional government at the city local level, mobilizing local stakeholders, business CSOs, as we did in Canterbury prior to pre-COP 30th of October with local media exposure. Can ICLE LGMA track encourage such local climate actions and engage with this process at the regional? Definitely, it is definitely a bottom-up process. Even the New York City Climate Week was created by New York City and the Climate Group, and it turned into London Climate Week. It now comes to Canterbury Climate Week. I think we have to highlight definitely that more and more such climate weeks should happen. But the UNFCCC jargon, the paragraph 57 is a climate week that is led by UNFCCC, World Bank, UNDP, and UNEP. And there's a spatial partnership there. And in each of the climate week, there is a spatial call for proposals and deadlines to be followed. The next one for MENA will be in March, and the applications for deadline is 27th of November. So let's not forget that there is an institutional differentiation between the official UNFCCC Climate Week, but for sure, every city, every region could have their own climate weeks, and we can make a list. Here are the climate weeks across the world. That will be fantastic. This is fully in line with our Talanoa experience, that those processes can happen everywhere in the world. And I'm fully encouraging also with you, Carl, we may start to invite every city or network to inform us about their climate week calendar, and then we can map this and we can promote this and we can tell the presidencies to support that. And that could also be a nice opportunity for our future engagement. So fully agreed, and thanks for the reminder of that. Julia has typed in the chat box that if you raise your hand, she can open the floor for you so that you can intervene personally as well. Thanks for the reminder, Julia. That's helpful for technical modalities. We still have 15 more minutes to go. We can always cut it short and you can save your 15 minutes for other purposes, but there's also an opportunity to share or hear from you, anyone who is in the process, that you can share your take on your experience, anything missing, anything that's to be added, or anything that has to be corrected. So feel free. I don't see too much new questions or chat messages or hands raised. Julia, I think we can conclude this session. So as we said, while we circulate the links to this webinar, we will circulate other upcoming events. As we said, the one we know, we already announced this today, is the Environment Commission of the Committee of the Regions. Next week, ICLE and Malmö World Congress is hosting another webinar on COP26 outcome, particularly focusing on biodiversity and also climate justice discussions. We are delighted that the Swedish negotiator, UNSC's negotiator, also confirmed his presence. So I think this will also be a good opportunity. We will share the link as well. I know our next LGMA webinar will be on the 15th of December. And I know Geneva Cities Hub is also planning for another webinar on the 16th of December. So the goal is that from now until end of, according to, let's say, a group of world who is celebrating the Christmas holidays, let's try to conclude by that time before you go to your breaks, and then we'll continue afterwards, so that at least before the end of the 2021 we have a clear, a bit, let's say, consolidated vision of how we will be preparing for COP27. Definitely it will be a shared process, and just like we have made a crowdsourcing, and we will continue to this style, and we will be happy to have your contributions, vision, inspirations, technical, financial, human resources be part of this process. Yes, Anne has also now put in the chat box on the 16th of December, she will circulate us the links so that you can join. I'm also invited to be joining this session. I know in this session, they are also trying to confirm the participation of the legendary negotiator and the chief negotiator from Mexico, Ambassador de Alba, who was instrumental in Cancun COP16, but also he was an instrumental figure in the 2019 UN Climate Action Summit design. So he may also join this session with Geneva Cities Hub. So it's good that we are having our national and international partners joining us in this kind of webinars. So, and the Swedish negotiator on the 1st of December, and Ambassador De Alba on the 16th of December. It's good signals. Oh, City of Glasgow also confirmed their participation. Fantastic. That's good to hear. So it is our chances to have new insights and new collective ideas, and opportunity to collect new ideas, and then define our roadmap. We will also have spatial consultations with our colleagues in Africa, UCLG Africa, FMDV, RALGA, ICLE Africa, especially those partners who have played a huge role over these years in bringing African partners into the process. We will approach them bilaterally in addition to our open invitations, so that they can provide their inputs to as much as possible. And we would look forward to their leadership, because this is an African COP. So with this, I think we can come to a close. I think we have reached really to our time now. To conclude, I see another input from Carlos from FMDV. Yunus, thanks for everything. Great to have this feeling of LGMA fabulous spirit again, and that's thanks to you. Thank you very much, Carlos. I really this means a lot to me personally, but I also would like to commend once again all the very positive engagement of all the old and new members of LGMA. We have met so many new colleagues, so many old friends came back again. I think really we have forgotten for a long time this constituency-wise engagement. There was a certain rationale behind that. I mean, in the Paris Agreement, the last 5 years, we focused a bit more defining of all our response, which is climate neutrality, climate emergency, and the multi-level NDC processes, as well as race to zero. These were the priority issues for us as local and regional government, most of us. We have slightly left the space of the negotiations a bit open, and with the COP26 now opening in second phase, I think that was the moment we have to come back, and I think we really come back. And I also would like to congratulate FMDV in this sense, especially leading the climate finance space for subnational climate finance or localizing climate finance, the initiative on Global Alliance of Subnational Development Banks, the way we are running this new funds coming to the local level through GCF or GAP fund. These are all very valuable progress, and without those achievements, we wouldn't come to this level. So we are even more encouraging to do further, because in Africa we know there have been so many of our work being, let's say, unearthed, that they were below the main space, below the tip of the iceberg. There was a huge mobilization in Africa. So it's time to unearth this. It's time to raise this capacity in Africa, so that the continent that has the youngest population, the continent that has the highest level of urbanization, could put urbanization at the heart of COP27 as well. So in that regard, Carlos, I'm looking at you, to all our friends and all the LGMA community, to build on our achievements in Glasgow and learn our mistakes and failures, but being much more confident that our strength and our achievements that will shape our way forward. So in that regard, I am also very proud and happy that as a collectively we have managed this. I am very happy that my contributions could facilitate or accelerate your efforts as a community, and we will be much more stronger in the future years. And that's exactly what the world is looking at us, so that, as we have said in ICLE's, let's say, outcome, the headline of our COP26, it's the beacon of hope, and we really mean it. There is a beacon of hope, and multi-level action is this beacon of hope, and we have to turn this beacon of hope to a new plant, a new tree, and new forest, so that we can all build upon further. That is our mandate and responsibility. Do we know which country has candidated to host African Regional Climate Week? I don't know this yet, and I think it's just wait and see mode. Let's see. People are still digesting, but that's a good point, and we have to work on it. But for me, More important point is the Middle East and North Africa Region Climate Week, which will be hosted in United Arab Emirates. The deadline for submission is 27th of November, which is Saturday. So we have to get our ends together, and we have to be active there as well before African Climate Week. Let's not lose the opportunity. Let's keep the momentum high for Regional Climate Week in Middle East and North Africa. So with this in mind, thanks a lot, and we'll have this next round of this webinar at 4 p.m. today in European time. Eva from Climate Change also has put a note. Climate Change will be holding the Climate Change Summit Africa 2022 in Dakar in September. Okay, date to be confirmed, to prepare for COP27 in Egypt and continue mobilizing non-state actors. Congratulations, Climate Change. Yes, this will be put in our calendar, and we also look forward to your leadership. Thank you, and have a nice day and evening and a day to all of you. And let's stay in touch and let's stay connected. Bye-bye.